Good morning and welcome to the Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com, and fightbackmediatv.com. We are glad you are here. My name is Willie Lawson. It is a Monday. Look outside. It's a beautiful Monday, actually. I was outside earlier and really nice out. It's warm already here in the Tampa Bay area. It's 82 degrees and the humidity is kind of high, but I wouldn't have it any other way. It was a great football weekend for us, and at the Lawson compound, a Florida State win and a Buccaneers win. It's a great weekend. However, this is interesting news here. We want to get started with the news. When we grew up, almost everybody we knew, because I started my life in New Jersey, but everybody was in a union. I mean, the union was a big deal. I mean, people talked about the union like it was this, and I really understand. It was this all-encompassing thing. Well, it was the union. It took me a while to realize that there was more than one union, and somehow these unions were all sort of connected by an overarching organization, AFL-CIO. This union was part of the AFL-CIO. The NEA, part of the AFL-CIO, all this. And I thought to myself, wow, I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't know if that's a good idea. We learned about unions and, we learned about unions in school. Isn't it interesting that we learned about unions in school and how much kids don't learn about stuff in school? Unions were there to protect the workers from the and I'm 63, so I learned that the unions were there to protect the workers from the evil capitalists who were, had dangerous work conditions and child labor and all the stuff, right? Okay. I mean, we all read the books, and unions were a good thing. Unions were for the little guy, right? Because they want you to be the little guy. I don't necessarily want to be the little guy forever. Do you want to be the little guy forever? Apparently you do. So what we learned is that unions were good until we got older and started, having to abide by the laws and the regulations of the unions. Story time. When I was teaching, working in the Hillsborough County School District, I was part of what they call the Hillsborough Classrooms Teachers Association. And as being part of the Hillsborough Classroom Teachers Association, there was dues, and they were supposed to negotiate our pay and benefits. So I didn't have to go. So I didn't have to ostensibly go into the principal's office and say, "Yeah, I did pretty good this year. How about that 10% increase?" No? Okay, how about that 2% increase? I didn't have to do that. The union or the association, the Classroom Teachers Association, did that for me with the school board. Except the years that we figured out that I hadn't had a raise in 4 years or 5 years. And then I decided, well, I need more money. And I'm already working 2 jobs. There have been few times in my life as an adult that I've had just one job. I may be Haitian. No, just kidding. Golly, calm down. But so I couldn't figure out, because they didn't print on your pay stub what your union dues were. No, they didn't print. You had your credit union deduction for your loans, and of course you had your taxes and Social Security, and if you had health care and you had your family involved, and they had those deductions are on your pay stub. But the only thing that wasn't there was union dues. I was like, so how much are they taking from me every paycheck? How much is my union due? I really couldn't find out. I mean, I had to take a sharp pencil and do some algebra to find out. And it was an amount that I thought, nah, I could use that myself. Thank you. So I called them and I said, I don't want to be in the union anymore. How do I get out? What form do I mean, what do I have to do? The person on the phone basically said, you don't want to get out of the union because if you get in trouble, if we'll be there to defend you. We have $1 million of of, of of lawyer fees we'll pay, blah blah. And I said, I don't plan on getting in any trouble. I'm only going to defend myself if I have to. No, I don't think so. So what they said I had to do was write a letter. This was in the 90s, 80s, or in the 90s. I had to write a letter, not an email, but a letter, and send it to them by mail. I sent mine because I'm extra. I sent mine, um, not express mail, but certified mail, return receipt requested, because I'm extra. I'm that dude. And I know when they got it. And so I waited for the response. There was never a response. There was never a last ditch effort to save the sale, so to speak, or are you sure? You can always come back to us. There was never a conversation about that. So I waited, and it wasn't the first pay cycle, but the second pay cycle, I got a bump in pay. And I guess at that point I was out of the union. No one ever told me that I was out of the union. Oh, you're out. You're out. No one ever said. No one's ever said a word. And after I was an assistant teacher, after the other teachers, some of the other teachers had similar concerns, and I said, "Well, I told them, well, I got out." They're like, "Really? You got out?" I said, "Got out." I said, "I got y'all here." I told them, I got y'all here. Y'all aren't gonna let me get in any trouble." They everybody laughed. So you're right. You're not. We're not. So a couple of them, not a lot, but like two or three people asked, well, how? And I told them how. I told them what I just told you. And I said, you'll have to sit down at the computers and write a letter. And I'll say, this is my letter. And they wrote letters and they got out. And some of them taught for another, oh my gosh, probably taught for another 10 or 11 years. And they got the benefit. They still got the same pay, but they got a little more because they didn't have union dues. And some will say that's not fair. I will say it's exactly fair, especially in the state of Florida. It's a right to work state. It's not a closed shop state where you have to be in the union to work. It's a choice that you make. And if you don't want to make that choice, then don't. You don't have to. But it is interesting to see what's happening with the United Auto Workers Union. The Auto Workers Union is on strike. They've been on strike for 4 days now. And this is great on this MSN.com site. They have a picture, of course, Bernie Sanders, speaking to the faithful. Rich, outrageously rich, wealthy Bernie Sanders, right? Well, the president of the United Auto Workers Union on Sunday rejected a public offer by Jeep. Jeep is a parent company of Stellantis. Did you know that? To boost pay 21% over the next 4 years, a little more than 5% a year increase. Pushing an historic coordinated strike against the nation's three biggest car makers into a third day. They said no. Stellantis which is based in the Netherlands, was formed in 2021 through a merger of Fiat Chrysler and Francis Peugeot. Did you know that Chrysler, as you remember, is really gone? Did you even realize it was gone? Probably not. So there are only really two American car makers, Ford and GM. Did you realize that? And you wonder. The union said it had reasonably productive conversations with Ford on Saturday and was planning to meet with GM as well. Both of these companies have offered a 20% raise over the next 4 years, 5% over the next 4 years, right? 5% a year. But Sunday morning, United Auto Workers President Sean Fain said that Stellantis' 21% offers and other terms presented by the automakers aren't sufficient, and the strike will continue. Fain was on Face the Nation, or Deface the Nation, as some people say. We asked for a 40% pay increases, and the reason we asked for 40% increases because here's what it is. Now you have to wonder if middle school people aren't running these organizations. They asked for 40% because the CEO of Stellantis pay went up 40%. Well, he got 40%. Why can't we get 40%? I've said for years, the left is like a bunch of 12-year-old girls. Well, she has it. I want it too. They aren't. Here's some of the stuff that they say they want. They want a 36 to 40% wage hike over the next 4 years. You're not going to get that. Forget it. They want a reduced 32-hour work week. You're not going to get that. You're going to get an increased work week. Most of us already have. They want cost of living increases. Here's the one that I found interesting. What I found interesting was that they want to shift back to pensions, traditional pensions. A lot of companies moved away from pensions. My wife's company moved away from pensions and inserted 401k plans as retirement vehicles. And we've seen pensions, especially for large cities, fail because a lot of pensions are based on what? They are based on the stock market. And the people who run the pensions get money. Whether you get your pension money or not, people who run the pensions get money. Here's the scam. Here's the deal. My union has a pension, or the company has a pension. I have a friend who runs the pension fund. He gets paid. Right? He gets paid. And because I'm requiring a pension, I am making sure that the firms that run the pensions get paid, and they can be as reckless as they want, and they usually are. And they want, again, protections against job losses. Now, how is that? If there's no business, then how do you not have job losses? If you are selling a product that people aren't buying, then how do you have job losses? They want to make it harder to fire people or to let people go, because you fire people and let people go for economic reasons for the most part, hopefully. Hopefully. That's what they want. It's tough. I mean, this is tough sailing. My thought is that all this will be worked out in some way, because now it's just to save face. Ford and GM their backs are against the wall. They've offered 20%, and they've seen the Auto Workers Union reject 21. So Sunday night they were on the phone scrambling. How can we offer more than 21? We've already offered 20. 20% over the next 4 years. 5, 10, 15, 20. 5%, a 5% increase, regardless of what else happens, regardless of business, regardless of whatever, over the next 4 years. Plus cost of living increases. And I'm sure that's based on some inflation, on the inflation rate, which is being manipulated by whom? It is horrific. And at the same time, and for those of you who are viewing the video, I got this picture behind me, and I'm going to get to this story. I promise. I promise. So that's what's going on with the unions. It is interesting for me to read about and think about. It makes me happy that I live in a right to work state here in the state of Florida, and I don't really have to be in a union. And to do what I do for a living, there aren't any unions. And I'm going to tell you, I'll fight them. I will fight them. In my area, I will. Now, the gentleman, and if you're just listening to the podcast and you're not watching the video behind me, is the mayor of Chicago. And mayor of Chicago is his name is Brandon Johnson. And if we thought for a second that Brandon Johnson would be an improvement over Mayor Beetlejuice, you got to wonder now. We've all seen the videos of the horrific things that are happening, like in grocery stores around the country, and the fights like at Walmart's, and the stealing that's happening, the shoplifting, people just walking out with shopping carts full of stuff, just walking out, right? And we all did. You said, I said, your friends, your family, we all said it's only a matter of time before these companies say, screw it, we're out of here. We're out of here. We're out of here. Where I live in South St. Pete, some of the major grocery stores, Walmart, whatever, basically have decided we can't do business here anymore. We can't do business here anymore. We are losing our face, not only with customers stealing stuff, they're having trouble with people who work there, because the idea was, and I know some of you are going to get mad right now, the idea was to hire people who live in the community, because that's how you keep some of that money in the community, with stuff walking out the back door. Story time. When the newest Walmart in our area opened up, just as it was about to open, they were having problems with theft. And so it wasn't the customers, it wasn't the people walking in the front door. They had stuff walking out the back door before they even opened. It is madness to think that any corporation, any company will just sort of endure this forever just because. Madness. Eventually, these corporations, Walmart, Target, these grocery stores, will just go, we give up. You win. We're closing our doors. Walgreens, all these places will give up and move away. And they'll be able to say that they're going to move away because it's not safe for the people who work there. It's not safe. It's not it's not the kind of environment that you put somebody in. Or people will just walk in and take stuff and you can't stop them. Right? not a safe environment. So they will close these stores. So innocent people who just like being able to take a bus or walk to a grocery store or a short drive to a grocery store won't have that grocery store in their community anymore. And all those jobs will also go away. I hear a lot of talk about, Walmart, her some mom and pop shops and blah, blah, blah. And to a degree, that's true, but only to a degree. Only to a degree. Because where they put the store I'm talking about, here in East Tampa, I didn't see a lot of other mom and pop shops or grocery stores or whatever closing. They didn't. The people who service their customers will always win. The problem is that the mom and pop shops can't hire 500 people. They can hire one or two extra people more over the people who live who are in their family or whatever. They can't provide as many jobs. They can't provide the benefits. They can't provide the educational benefits. They can't. They just simply can't. Not possible. Not feasible. So sometimes you need a larger employer with deeper pockets to come into a community and provide these things. Although that's not their purpose to provide these things. Don't get it twisted. But it is one of the things that those large companies can do. But if you don't stop the crime, then you won't have those, you won't have those businesses. But Brandon Johnson has got a solution. The mayor's office added that historic divestment, is it a word? It's divestment is the word. They wrote disinvestment has led to inequitable access to food retail across Chicago. How about historic crime has led to inequitable access to food retail across Chicago? And these existing inequities have been exacerbated as at least 6 grocery stores closed on the south and west side over the past 2 years. Maybe crime, maybe wanton crime and madness has exacerbated the problem. It cited data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture estimated that 63% of residents in West Englewood and 52% in East Garfield Park residents live more than a half a mile from their nearest grocery store. A half a mile. Look at me. I'm a big fat tub of goo. I don't want to walk 2 laps around I don't want to walk 2 laps around the track to get groceries. I'll drive 2 laps around the track. And when I say that, most tracks at schools are 440 yards. 1 lap, 880 yards, which is a half a mile or so. So it added that food access and security linked directly to environmental and racial justice. 30%, 37% of Black residents and 29% of Latin residents, and MSN is still trying to use that Latinx, which they've been told is horrifically incorrect and offensive to Latin people. They're still trying to use it. Are food insecure compared to 19% of residents overall. Every grocery, I'm thinking now, from where I'm sitting right now, every grocery store and there are a lot around here. I'm thinking, let's see, Winn-Dixie, Publix, Winn-Dixie, Winn-Dixie, that Publix up there. I'm thinking about where all these stores are. They're all a half mile more from where I'm sitting. So I guess they're not within walking distance. Yeah. So I guess we would fall into this too, although nobody in this area feels food insecure. These are just words. Here, I'm getting to it. Here's his solution. The simplest explanation is that collectively, our Chicago stores have not been profitable. This is what Walmart says since we first opened one nearly 17 years ago. It ain't like Walmart. I mean, I ain't no shill for Walmart, hardly. But it seems like when you go 17 years without making any money, Walmart says these stores lose tens of millions of dollars a year, and their annual losses have nearly doubled in the past five. They've never made a profit in 17 years. The remaining four Chicago stores continue to face the same business difficulties, but we think it's decision to give us the best chance to help keeping them open and serving the community. So there are four show in one of the largest cities in America. It's only four Walmart stores, and that might not last. Since then, crime has not abated in the Windy City. After his election, Mayor Johnson allies proposed a budget that cut funds from the Chicago Police Department. Johnson has pledged not to cut the city's police budget, but we'll see. The mayor's office said in a release that it intends to pursue values aligned funding opportunities for the city's city owned grocery store initiative. So his decision is instead of dealing with crime, instead of dealing with the root cause, what this dude wants to do is have some city owned grocery stores. Your tax dollars providing food that you can buy and pay tax on. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's what he wants to do. Let's see. The mayor's office said in a release that it intends to pursue values-aligned funding opportunities for the city-owned grocery store initiative, such as those from the Illinois Grocery Initiative, which commits $20 million for grants and technical assistance for grocery stores in the state. The city didn't provide any timeline for the study. The city of Chicago's budgetary woes could factor into the capacity to move forward with the city-owned grocery store project using municipal funding following the conclusion of the feasibility study. Last week, Johnson's office also announced the projected budget gap of $538 million. They've got a shortfall of $500 million coming up in 2024. And this dude wants to talk about city-owned grocery stores. What happens when somebody robs a city-owned grocery store? Do you do the same thing that you do when they rob a Walmart? Nothing. When people go into a city-owned grocery store and show their butts and end up in fights and I'm like, what do you do? Do you arrest them? Or do you do what you do it right now? Nothing. When these stores lose tens of millions of dollars over the next few years, what do you do about them? Do you close them? Do you put more cops in them? What do? Do you do what you've been doing all along? Nothing. Mayor Johnson, if you have the guts, and I gotta say it that way, the guts to attack the real causes of your problem, you'll be able to handle it. You'll be able to fix it, and you will look like a hero eventually. You will look like a hero. You're gonna face some pushback, but if you go ahead and take care of it, like you need to, I think you can look like a hero. If you do this, it'll fail and you'll just be another zero. My name is Willie Lawson. And this is the Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, take care of yourself. We'll see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.